Good morning and welcome to my channel. It's always a blessing to share these stories with you guys. This week is just amazing, the different things. And every week I am excited. As a matter of fact, as I go through each day, I just cannot wait for Sabbath morning to put all the stories together and share them with you guys fresh. So I want to welcome you back to my channel. I'm your host, Davin Bennett, and it's another week of what happened this week out flying, helping to deliver hope and save lives. It's episode 6. So if you haven't seen episode 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, that's like a month and a week. So we're now a month and a half into these reports. Go over to my YouTube channel. They're all there, and we invite you to continue to join with us with the Zoom live audience. All right. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Again, these are just the links to my social media accounts. Flying by Faith YouTube channel, By His Stripes Ministries is my Facebook page. Missionary Pilot 172 if you're an Instagram person, and you can even go over to my website, By His Stripes Ministries 1844.com, and enjoy these videos. Again, this week started out with a lot of requests. Sunday, my week started on Sunday. And again, I keep telling you guys, this app continues to help me to navigate my way through the mountains. It's VFR, but I like to still have backups. Anything can happen, and I like to have backups. My first patients here, basically, I ended up transporting them, multiple complications, and they're just getting out. They want to get out, they want to go get some help. And it's a blessing that our ministry was there and ready. The aircraft was ready, and everything was in place to basically help these individuals. So I started out, I picked up these patients, and by God's grace, I dropped them off. This patient, it's a very interesting case. She's basically showing pregnancy symptoms, but when she does a pregnancy test, it's negative, and her body's going through all kind of different things. So I remember I dropped her off. She's from episode 5. I dropped her off. Episode 6, she shows up. She did her test, and now it's time to go home. As a matter of fact, she was the one in the hot tent, and I asked them to put her somewhere close. This week, I'm gonna give you a heads up. This week was mainly I transported a lot of returning patients. I have a lot of successful story for you guys this week. Whenever I land in Makonakon, um, they greet me with a coconut. I'm flying, it's hot. I carry my own water, but it's so hot that the thing gets hot. I cannot keep up with the heat in this place. So I made a request. The people in Makonakon, they're always trying to give me gifts. Sometimes they have fruits, they have watermelon, they try to give me rice and meat, and so I just kindly, politely say no to a list of things that they were giving me. And then I thought, why not tell them what you like? So I told them that I like coconut water. So whenever I land, I have at least 2 coconut water. This one was given to me by Pastor Carlo, or a contact there, huge. And I kid you not, it was a long day. I was so thirsty that I finished this thing in one sitting. Don't ask me how I did it, but I drank the thing. And I can tell you, I drink a lot of water. I had a lot of coconut water. I can guarantee you this was maybe at least 1.5 liter of water was in this coconut. And you know what he told me? He said, brother, I got this coconut from beside the Seventh-day Adventist church. So I guess our Adventist coconuts, they're the biggest, they're the best. So, I just thought I would share that picture with you. This is Brother Felix. He's one of the church members. So right now the pastor is out, and he's one of my contacts though, where I got his number, and whenever, he's the one who greets me, Cap, morning, your buko is right there, your coconut is right there. So we just thought we will take a picture together. This is my next patient. Basically, I transported her before with some cargo. She wanted to return home. I had space with, I was transporting some medicine, and she tagged along for a flight to get back home. 2 months later, I see her on the flight again. I said, wait a minute, I remember you when the COVID was fresh. I remember you were trying to get home. She said, yes, she's having some complications with her pregnancy, and so she became a medevac. So from a passenger stranded tagging to get home to now a pregnant lady trying to get to the hospital. And I was told this week, because I transport a lot of pregnant women, and I was wondering, what's happening in these coastal areas. And I found out that in like the area she's from Makonakon, her area, they don't have an ultrasound option in the hospital. So when there's complication and it requires them to do an ultrasound, there's no equipment there. So that's why, ever so often I'm transporting these pregnant women, because some of them, they're going in for ultrasound so they can have an idea what's happening. Again, success stories again, so I had her along with another patient. Now, this patient in the yellow top, I was on the ramp. I'm getting ready to go, and usually, I have to file a flight plan. The police has to sign it. There's protocols that can be very time consuming. So if I'm gonna land 7, I ask them to be at the airport by 6. So as we were getting ready, my phone rang, got an update. Cap, this is a possible appendicitis case. She's vomiting, and when it comes to appendicitis, if that thing breaks, you're in trouble. Fortunately for these people, it's only a 15-minute flight. So I can pick them up, drop them off within like a 35 to 45-minute window. So when I got the call, I rushed. And I remember when I picked her up, I gave her bags. She was vomiting her stomach out. But again, they're having challenges, but we show up with a ray of hope to help them to know that it's not the end yet. You have options, and we'll transport you. This is another success stories. 2 returning patients here. They were my patient from episode 5. I dropped them off, and by God's grace, I took them back home. I don't know what their test shows, but for me, the fact that they can go back home and their admission is not extended, it's always a blessing. We got a long list of stranded students. When the list came in from the mayor, I counted it. It was 106 students stranded. School is locked down, college is locked down. They are in these areas running out of money, running out of food, and they appeal to the mayor to get permission to travel. A lot of them cannot afford to go with the other airlines and pay a big bulk of money. So when we have a patient and we have space, we will help them to tag along to get back home. And this is one of those students that benefited this week from a flight. I had a little toddler this week, young little kid, and unfortunately, what happened to him, kids, boys will be boys. I grew up and I love climbing trees. And I look back and I say, it's interesting. All my life, climbing trees, having fun, never fell and broke a leg. And I don't remember anyone from my community that fell from a tree and broke their leg. However, it was not the same story with this kid. He fell from the tree. He broke his leg, multiple fractures, I was told. And, I remember I picked him up with his mom, and it's a very interesting story. Boys in a lot of pain. Parents are just dirt poor, couldn't afford any other help. The government helped them out a little bit financially to get to the hospital, and we did our part in transporting them. Pastor Carlo and I, this is Pastor Carlo. I told you last week, episode 5, that I have some exciting news. I will be flying Pastor Carlo out to take him to the conference. I flew him out. I took him. He was one of the passengers this week. We did a flight. I was even teaching him the basics of flying. You know, he's in an isolated area, coastal area. And one thing I remember that came to mind, I told you guys a couple episodes ago that I have this burden for my contacts. I see the areas they are in. I know that, you know, they are trying to live up to the health message, but there's so little options that they have. So I thought, why not have a little pastoral care gift, or a gift for the contacts? It's something from my pantry to their home. And so I was like, what can I bring? And then it dawned on me, we have missionaries here who makes and sell tofu. They're like $1 for a block of tofu. And so I said, okay, when I have a little extra income on my pocket, I'm gonna buy tofu. So I remember I took one. He was the first. I gave him before I gave him, I said, Pastor, when was the last time you had tofu? He said, 1 year ago. I said, Pastor, here's a block of tofu. Ah, I tell you, he was so happy. He kept texting me after I departed. He kept texting me, Cap, I have calamansi ready and toyo. And, you know, he was so excited to cook his tofu, and his heart was just melted. And I was like, this is just for $1. But it's not about the price, you know, it's the gift. And they're out there, they're isolated, they're off grid, they're the connecting link between the aviation ministry and the people. And I gave him just a small block of tofu, and he was so happy. So I boarded him in the airplane, and along with that, there's a little interesting story. He had a box that weighed about maybe 25 to 30 pounds. I said, Pastor, what's in this box? He said, it's a portion of my motorcycle engine. His motorcycle is broken, and so he's trying to take it somewhere where he can fix it. So we boarded him, and then after I took him to the air base, it's time to drive him home because there's no public transportation. I have a rapid pass, which is something like I'm on the frontliner list. So I just present my ID, which says a medical missionary pilot on it, and I show my rapid pass, and I can go through all the checkpoints. It took me around 2.5 hours to get him home. Before I drop him home, I took him to the conference office, the Seventh-day Adventist conference office. That's where we took this picture. I took him to the conference. He submitted his report, did his little paperwork, meet and greet the workers there. And then after that, I took him home. You know, he hasn't seen his family in over, well, last time he saw his family was 6 months. So he's in that isolated area away from his wife and kids. And every often he gets a little time off and he goes back and he, you know, he's there with his family. One of his son is with him. And, you know, they invited me into their humble little home, and they were so happy. The kids were all over him, so happy to see their dad. And he kept texting me, thank you so much. He's like, oh man, you're such a good driver. It was a long day for me. You know, I transported 6 patients that day, over 3 hours of flying. And I was tired and exhausted, but I said, I have to get this man home. Lord gave me the strength. I took him home. Now he's enjoying his little vacation with his family, hoping to go back to the home. You know, when I help these people, they don't have money to give to me, but they have some priceless gifts. He gave me a bag. He said, Top. I realized because he had lunch with me at my home before I took him to the conference and then home. And so we were at the table and I was eating avocado, and he asked me, you like avocado? I said, man, I love avocado. Next thing you know, I got to his place and he gave me a bag of these avocados. They are so sumptuous. So while I don't get money from these folks for helping them, they have some very priceless gifts. You know, so instead of buying this in the market this week, I got some free avocados. After I helped Pastor Carlo to get home and submit his information to the conference and so on, he gave me some supplies for his church. I was back to work again. This is another returning patient heading home. I transported her before. She did her test. Now it's time to go home. And I was able to transport her home. Pregnancy lady again. You know, this is the reason why we exist. They're pregnant, they're having complications, and it's time to get to work. This is a pregnant actor with her watcher having complications, and we were able to successfully transport her. Now, I've been flying solo with this airplane, solo mission, since the 16th of April. When I just started out, we were solid into the COVID lockdown. Many times I'm out there all by myself. The radio is definitely silenced. No one else. But when I landed that particular day this week, guess what? There's an Airbus that was on the ramp blasting the engine. I said, does this mean that we're going back to business as usual? Because now I have Airbus that I have to contend with when I'm landing and taking off. So it was just amazing to see that little by little things are picking up and people can travel again. Um, it's gonna be another long day again. Once you see this app, you know Romeo Papa Uniform Osco. It's Bosco. I'm gonna be over the waters, and anytime. So here's a hint. Anytime you see a photo that has Bosco with it, I'm gonna be over the waters. Okay, and it's gonna be at least a 4 hours flight. Right, whenever I take on this mission, it's gonna be at least a 4 hour flight. I have my raft, I have my vest, I'm praying. The airplane is well equipped, it's a single engine, but we don't worry because we're yet to have any issues. You know, PAMES has been in operation since 2007. I have other missionary pilot friends. They are always over the water. And, you know, I text them time to time. You know why people throw up on my flight? I'm over land mainly. I miss flying over the water. I've had a lot of hours flying over the water. You don't experience much discomfort with turbulence, but when you have to go over mountainous terrains and hills, it's buck wild, you know, stuff happens. So I got a request this week, and it was just a heartwarming experience because this mom and her daughter and a stranded student, basically they're trying to get back home. So there's a patient involved. I have some extra space, and I opted to transport this family. The mom and the daughter have been traveling all the way close to where I was living from in Luzon Island, and they've come to this point now where no ship is going over the water, and they heard about us or contact message us, and I brought them along joyfully. When they showed up, they have their things, and you can tell. I was talking to the husband on the phone, and he works on that island, and he's been there for over 3 years. And I'm thinking, is it possible that he hasn't seen his family that long, or what? I don't know. But it was a blessing to reunite this mom and daughter with their dad and her husband. You know, she brought her little motorcycle. You know, she had a little bike with the training wheels on it. And I remember when I fit their things in, I was like, how am I gonna fit this bike? And I was able to like slide it into the cargo hold. And I told her, can you just go on it so I can take a picture? And so, you know, we help a lot of sick people, but I'm sure this kid will remember. If, you know, she's about 3 years old, maybe she'll remember. My memory goes back to 3 years old. Maybe she'll remember the day when the missionary pilot took her and her little motorbike back home to her island. Not only that, but this week the airport workers, so the airport that I departed from, the airport manager gave me these 2 boxes. Cap, do you have space? This is some mask for the workers in the airport in the tower. Can you bring this for me? It's very light, just bulky, but it's light. And I said, yeah, sure. I found space. And you know, in one mission, I helped a stranded family, daughter and mom, to get back home, the kid with her little bike. I help a stranded student, a patient, plus the aviation authority workers in the tower to have masks. In one mission, all these people are benefiting from a flight. And I remember the airport manager texted me. I messaged her when I got back home. Mom, I landed safely back at home base. And she's like, Cop, you're so amazing because people come with a lot of stuff and I have to like check the weight and pack it. And personally, I'm not a packer. I hate packing. It's just, it tests my patience. But I realize that I have to get over that hatred and just learn how to lovingly pack the airplane. So I was able to put everything and help everyone. This is the patient. Basically, he was asked by the doctor in that island, you need to be transported so you can put a pin implant in your leg. I'm This one was a little close to me because I met in an accident the 5th of July 2001. So about what, 19 years ago, I had an accident and I had to do a pin implant. So when I heard the case, I was like, I can perfectly relate to what this guy, it's his left leg. It was also my left leg. He had to use two crutches to move around. That's his wife and that's his son. And I picked them up and transported them to the hospital. Now, after I dropped them off, again, more successful story. I had a returning patient with her husband, and I remember them. They were from episode either 4 or 5, and I was like, let me grab a picture of you guys. They went home, they went to the hospital rather. She gave birth, and it's a beautiful baby girl. And sometimes I'm going through and my day is so stressing and things are happening. I have to contend with weather. I have to make decisions. Sometimes I have to tell people, no, I can't. I don't have enough fuel. And this work, it's very intense. And so for me though, the little tip in my day, so to speak, are the little moments where I'm revived again is when I see a returning patient that says, Gap, you remember me? I said, yeah, I transported you. You were a patient before. Yes. And you see the mom, you see the dad, and you see the baby, and it just melts your heart. And that's when you can say, after dropping them back home, mission successful. They don't always have the contact to send you a message. But when it's time to get home, that's the message. Cop, you transported me. I was having complications. I got into the hospital. I've given birth, and look up. Hey, here's the baby. And I always tease them when they're sick. I would say, if it's a boy, here's name him that, just for the fun of it. Another successful story again. This is an actor with his son, complicated birth. And the kid has his little gun. I said, oh, I have an armed little guy here today. That's Pastor Belke posing with them and so on. Another successful story. Kid was sick, flew him out. He got to the hospital. He got his medicine. He got his medical attention. And the job was take him home. And another successful story. Pastor Melky benefits from us. It's a blessing. He's a pastor in that coastal area. Fuel for his motorcycle. Now, his motorcycle is not broken, but he needs fuel. So ever so often, I will basically tie all these flights together. And, this particular day, I was out flying. I left home about 6 o'clock in the morning. I got back home at 3:15 p.m. in the afternoon. I went all the way over the waters. I picked up patient, stranded family, and then I just made the connecting link. I've shown you guys that picture before. Just make the connecting link where in one day I'm helping like 6 people. I'm flying at least 600 plus nautical miles at 6 hour and 6 minute flight, and I'm just able to pull everyone. And I look back and I say, the Bible says, young men, I call upon you because you are strong. It's an amazing experience to see how God gives me the strength. He gives me sufficient sleep. He keeps my brain active, alive. And when I do like 6 hours, it's not like 3 hours going and 3 hours coming back. Oftentimes, 6 hour flight time for me involves 8 takeoff and 8 landings. It's a long day. You're taking off, you're landing, you're taking off, you're landing, and some flight 15, 20 minutes, pick up, drop off, pack, it's intense. but God continues to give me the physical strength. So I brought Pastor his fuel so he can move around and help people in the Seventh-day Adventist Church to basically get the help. I have here with me some more patients who needs to get out, and I just have to jump to the rescue and get back to work transporting these patients. In addition to that, for Seventh-day Adventists, we're now going into a new Sabbath school lesson. When I brought Pastor Carlo to the conference, he gave me these boxes. He kept reminding me, and I went to his area twice and I forgot. You know, when I get a text message that says, Cap, patient is critical. Are you ready? My brain chips in. So I will forget things. So I make sure I have my watch, my shades. You know, I keep all my necessities in the airplane because when I'm rushing, I don't remember things. So I rushed twice and I did not remember the Sabbath school quarterly for this coastal town. I got a text message, God, please remember, we need the Sabbath school quarterly lesson before Sabbath. It's already Wednesday. I have forgotten twice after going into that area. But praise the Lord, finally, Thursday this week, I remembered. I picked up the Sabbath school quarterly. I put them in the airplane and I took them. And then I messaged Pastor Carlo. Pastor Carlo, I delivered the package. So it's Sabbath in the Philippines right now. People in this area is enjoying their new Sabbath school lessons. And you know, it just goes to show that the aviation ministry, again, partnering with the efforts of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, is able to bring materials that is needed to enhance the spiritual life of members in the community. I got another call again, another critical patient. Basically, the leg is swollen, stuff is oozing out, he's weak, he doesn't have a stick. The ambulance showed up, and you know, I was thinking, I cannot work a miracle, but I can give a hand. So this is the wife and I just helping him to hop on into the ambulance. I haven't gotten any updates from him yet, but I can assure you, the day he recovers, I'm gonna get a phone call at some point. Cap, we have some returning patients who would like to go home. I don't just fly. This week, I explored with something new. Underneath the belly of the airplane is where the exhaust pipe comes down, and there's this stain. You know, it's very stained underneath the belly. No, I'm a germaphobe. I like everything somewhat clean. You know, I'm always vacuuming my plane. I have a million things I spray into it. I have my Lysol, I have my sanitizer, I have alcohol, I have air freshener, you know, because I transport sick people and sometimes they come with an odor, they come with germs and different things from the hospital. And I have to keep that airplane in a certain condition that when you come to the airplane, the presentation should say, these missionary pilots, they take their job seriously. So I like to clean up the airplane. And I saw this stain, and you know, usually you would use fuel to clean it, but it's a lot of work and scrubbing. So I started exploring with different chemicals and stuff. And finally, this is the before picture. Okay, this is what it looked like before. I mixed some chemical and I told people, oh, maybe I should make a business out of this. No. I mixed some chemicals, I got underneath, I sprayed it on, and I just got a little piece of paper cloth and just wiped it, and this was the result. Wow. It's like someone gave the airplane a new paint job. And I'm like, man, I need to get around the rivets next time. So it was a blessing that, you know, the little creativity in my brain to get little chemicals and different things and combine them. I had a little soap in the mix. It's a good mix. And I'm able to get this airplane clean. So now when, you know, if I take off or anyone comes, because what I think motivated, we had some visitors last Sabbath, we had visitors from the church, and one of them looked at the belly of the airplane and he commented about that. He's like, yeah, what's happening there? And so, you know, when it comes to airplanes and it's small ones particularly, people are so afraid of everything. So they see smoke stain under the belly. They're wondering, does the engine function? What's happening? Is this thing gonna break apart? And so I think that was tucked in the back of my mind last Sabbath. And I said, I got to do something about that. So now no one will ever come to this airplane and comment about belly stain from the exhaust, because I have a perfect solution, very little effort, and it will help to keep the airplane clean. I have another patient here that actually they're stranded family members trying to get home. They coordinated through our pastor in the community, and I was able to successfully take them home with some medicine for the hospital. Pregnancy case again, I had this young lady here having complications with her pregnancy, and I was able to successfully transport her home. Obviously, it's another case where an ultrasound analysis is needed. There's no ultrasound machine in that area. So a flight to take her to another one, 15, 20 minutes, I drop her off. She can go through and get her ultrasound. We continue to ask you to partner with us. Again, you know, you see these stories, right? You're seeing these stories. You have a perfect idea the weight of what it takes to keep this airplane going to help people. We continue to solicit your prayers. All right. So we're still only halfway towards the magneto change, right? It's 17, it's 1695. We're hoping that God will provide. He keeps providing little by little. We're just stuck right now. And maybe it's because I don't have the effort or the time to be, I'm supposed to make a GoFundMe, but I'm flying every day. I'm so busy. I come home, I'm exhausted. The last thing I want to do is go online. But you know, at some point I'll make a fundraiser for these things. And yeah, 1695, we're halfway there. We encourage you to go over to my website, By His Stripes Ministries 1844.com. And it has a nice picture there that breaks down the needs. So if you want to help towards my personal need, where, you know, financially I'm not compensated as a missionary pilot for what I do, but you know, God continues to provide the means, right? And there's my logo right here. I do the work, and God continues to provide the means. Without your help, there is no way that we could do what we do. Without your help, there's no way we could do what we do. Your prayers, your little donation, your encouragement continues to help us. I'm not worried, but something else broke on the airplane. I'm holding in my hand right here. It's my graphic engine monitor. This is what I use to help to tell if the temperature of the exhaust is good, if the temperature of my cylinders are good. And 2 weeks ago, I turned on the airplane doing a medevac, and the thing got toasted. My director analyzed it and he said, I'm sorry, but it's broken. So we researched it and we found out that it's a costly little equipment, you know, it's a costly little equipment. And we found a way where if we are able to get this back to the States, to the factory, they will take off a discount from the new replacement. So it's another $1,700 fix again. And you know, some may say, man, why do you guys do this? It costs so much. Why do you do this? It costs so much. But here's why we do what we do. What is the cost? What is the cost of someone's life? What is the cost of a pregnant lady that needs help? Can you say 1,700 is too much to help someone who is having complications giving birth? Can you say 1,700 it's too much to help someone who has a motorcycle accident and they're bleeding? Yeah, I had an 18-year-old this week, and I thought I was gonna lose the kid. Before I picked him up, the doctor texted me, "Cop, urgent, you have to come now." I dashed in that airplane, I rushed over there. They said, on my way over there, the patient was not responding. His vital signs was dropping like crazy. And we're praying and I'm rushing over there. By the time I got there and picked him up, he recovered enough for the flight. And I remember I looked at him just in and out. And I said, Lord, is he gonna die on this flight? I'm doing everything. I'm pushing that airplane as fast as it would go just to drop him off. So when I see Something breaks and it's 1700 or it's 1600 or 1695. And I want to know the value of these pieces of equipment to keep these planes going. I remember these people and I say, you know what? This little money, it's nothing. This week, I transported 14 patients, uh, 12 watchers. That's the person who accompanied their loved one, 12 of them. I transported 8 returning patients, which is 8 successful stories of individuals who benefited tremendously from these flights. I transported 7 stranded family members trying to reconnect with their loved ones. 7 of them was able to be transported. I transported 239 pounds of cargo, which is food and medicine. I used 157 gallons of fuel, and I spent 15 hours in the air this week. God has been good. God is blessing, God is providing, and it's as a result of your prayers, your encouragement. I look forward to episode 7. I don't know what waits me for next week, but I can tell you, whatever it's gonna be more work and just watching God provide the means. It's gonna be successful stories, it's gonna be challenges, but whatever comes my way, I know that God will provide if I just keep doing the work. Thank you for your support, thank you for your prayers, and we look forward to share more stories of how God continues to bless this aviation ministry effort. God bless from the Philippines, and we see you next week for episode 7.